September 18th, 1970, a day that changed rock forever. That morning, the world almost lost one of its most creative minds. But in this story, something different happens. Imagine a world where Jimi Hendrix, the man who made the guitar sing, cry, and scream, didn't fade away at 27. Imagine he got one more chance to rest, to reset, and to keep making music. What would the 1970s sound like if Hendrix had kept playing? How would the world of rock, funk, and even jazz have evolved if he'd continued breaking every rule in the book? Today, we explore that alternate timeline, based on Hendrix's real plans, his friends' accounts, and the direction his music was already taking. Let's step into a different universe where Jimi Hendrix lives on. It's mid-September 1970. Jimi's been touring endlessly, tired, overwhelmed, and caught in the whirlwind of fame. But this time, fate takes a turn. That night in London, instead of reaching for the sleeping pills offered by his companion, he pauses. Something inside tells him, not tonight. He decides to simply rest. He wakes up the next morning, alive, exhausted, but with a spark of clarity. That small decision changes everything. Within days, Jimi calls a meeting. He's done with the chaos in London. He tells his team he's heading back to New York, back to Electric Lady Studios, his creative sanctuary. For the first time in months, he's thinking clearly about the future. "I just want to make music that feels free again," he says to a friend. And so begins the next chapter of his life. Back in New York, Jimi takes time off, something he's never really done before. He rests, he reconnects with friends, and he starts reflecting on what he truly wants from his art. By November, he's back at Electric Lady Studios, ready to record the project he'd been dreaming about. First rays of the new rising Sunday, he revisits songs like Freedom, Dolly Dagger, and Nightbird Flying. Each one now sounds more grounded, less about rebellion. More about discovery, but something else is brewing. Remember Miles Davis? The jazz legend had already reached out to Hendrix about a collaboration before his tour. Now, with Jimi back in New York, Miles calls again. "Let's do it," Miles says. "Let's make something the world's never heard before." Jimi agrees. And history, or rather alternate history, is made. January 1971. Electric Lady Studios buzzes with energy. Jimi Hendrix and Miles Davis finally share the same space. Two icons from different worlds, both chasing sound beyond boundaries. Tony Williams joins on drums. Michael Henderson plays bass. The sessions are electric, unpredictable. Hendrix's bluesy riffs swirl around Miles's fiery trumpet lines. One moment, they're lost in funk. The next, they're building cosmic jazz landscapes. At one point, Miles laughs and says, "Man, you play with your soul. That's all the theory you'll ever need." The resulting record, Electric Voodoo, hits the world like nothing before it. It's strange, bold, and decades ahead of its time. Critics are divided, but musicians everywhere are inspired. For Hendrix, it's more than a hit, it's a rebirth. After the success of his bold collaboration with Miles Davis, Hendrix feels unstoppable, but also curious. He's tasted freedom in sound and wants to go even further. That's when arranger Gil Evans enters the picture. Evans, known for shaping Miles Davis's orchestral masterpieces like Sketches of Spain, had already spoken to Hendrix about merging electric guitar with symphonic textures. Now, that dream becomes real. In 1971, they begin meeting at Electric Lady Studios, sketching ideas late into the night. Hendrix isn't reading notes, he's describing colors, feelings, and skies. Evans translates those emotions into sound. "I want to build a sky church," Hendrix tells him. Music that feels like sunlight through stained glass. The result is the 1972 album Sky Church. It's unlike anything before it. Strings rising behind his solos, trumpets echoing like distant storms, and Hendrix's guitar soaring like a preacher's voice. Tracks like Angel's Flight and Little Wing Reborn show a new side of him, emotional, cinematic, spiritual. Critics finally recognize Hendrix not just as a guitarist, but as a composer. Sky Church earns him his first Grammy nomination and proves he's not trapped by the 1960s. He's redefining the 1970s. By 1973, the world is dancing. Funk dominates radios, soul grooves fill dance floors, and Hendrix, always ahead of trends, dives right in. He reforms Band of Gypsys with Billy Cox on bass and Buddy Miles on drums. This time, they mix hard rock power with deep funk rhythms and socially conscious lyrics. Songs like Earth Blues, Power to the People, and New Nation talk about freedom, equality, and unity, themes Hendrix always believed in. Live, they're untouchable. The band stretches songs into hypnotic 15-minute grooves. Hendrix's solos melt into bass lines, and audiences move as one massive heartbeat. In 1974, he releases Electric Church, followed by Midnight Lightning in 1975, two albums soaked in rhythm, wah-wah, and spirit. He collaborates with Sly Stone, Stevie Wonder, and even a young George Clinton, blending psychedelic guitar with funk's raw groove. This era cements Hendrix as more than a rock star. He becomes a musical messenger, uniting genres and generations. But not everything is easy. His longtime manager, Mike Jeffrey, whose controlling influence haunted Jimi for years, passes away in a plane crash in 1973. The news hits Hendrix hard, a strange mix of relief and sorrow. For the first time, he owns his future completely. He pours that freedom into his art. By 1975, his sound has evolved, deeper, warmer, more human. The world is changing again. Disco fever sweeps through clubs. Punk explodes, sneering at the complexity that Hendrix once embodied. Many see him as a relic of the 60s, a guitar god from another time. But Jimi? He refuses to fade away. In 1977, he surprises everyone with Valleys of Neptune, a stripped-down, high-energy album echoing the raw spirit of punk. It's messy, loud, and alive, proof that Hendrix can still reinvent himself. Songs like Crash Landing and Neptune Rising combine the attitude of punk with the soul of blues. A year later, he shifts gears again. Hendrix meets producer Nile Rodgers, whose band Chic is redefining dance music. Together, they create Electric Lady 2, a funky, rhythmic record that bridges Hendrix's groove with Rodgers' precision. The title track becomes a club hit. Critics call it psychedelic disco. Still, behind the scenes, things aren't easy. The endless touring, pressure, and constant reinvention take their toll. Hendrix isolates more often, chasing peace through music rather than chaos. By 1979, he realizes something vital. He doesn't need to chase trends. He's already influenced them all. That summer, Hendrix steps on stage at the Montreux Jazz Festival, just him and his guitar. No fireworks, no band, just pure, soulful playing. The crowd is silent, mesmerized. As he finishes the set, he smiles and says softly into the mic, "Still chasing the sound, man. Still chasing it." It's a moment of quiet triumph, the world's greatest guitarist, still evolving, still alive, still free. It's the dawn of the 1980s. Music is changing again. Synthesizers, drum machines, neon lights, and a new generation of sound. Most of Hendrix's peers fade into nostalgia, but Jimi? He sees opportunity. After a few quiet years of reflection, he steps back into the studio with a new vision. He wants to merge the analog fire of his guitar with the digital future of sound. In 1982, he releases Future Shock. It's bold, funky, and full of experimentation, blending guitar loops, electronic beats, and dreamy textures. Tracks like Cyber Blues and Digital Lover sound like they came from another galaxy. MTV has just launched, and Hendrix, always visual, always theatrical, understands the power of the screen. His music videos are unlike anything else. Surreal colors, layered effects, and that unmistakable Hendrix charisma. For the first time since the 60s, he's not just relevant again, he's leading a new wave of innovation. Young artists like Prince, Eddie Van Halen, and Stevie Ray Vaughan openly call him their hero. Hendrix collaborates with them, mentoring and jamming late into the night at Electric Lady Studios. There's even talk of a new supergroup, a cross-generational fusion with Prince on keys and vocals and Hendrix on guitar. The press calls it the meeting of the two Purple Kings. But Hendrix doesn't chase fame. He's calmer now, older, wiser, focused. He's finally doing what he always wanted, creating without boundaries. July 13th, 1985, Live Aid. Billions are watching. When the announcer says, "Please welcome the Jimi Hendrix Experience," the crowd erupts. For the first time in over a decade, Jimi reunites with Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell. They open with Purple Haze, and the world stops. It's pure electricity, three legends, older but still wild, rewriting their own myth in front of the entire planet. Their closing jam on Voodoo Child becomes one of the most replayed moments in Live Aid history. After that, Hendrix enters a new phase, not chasing charts, but guiding others. He begins hosting workshops at Berklee College of Music, teaching young players about tone, rhythm, and expression. When a student asks him what makes a great guitarist, Hendrix smiles and says, "You don't play the guitar, you let it talk." That's all. In 1988, he releases Voodoo Child Returns, a reflective, blues-driven record that blends his past with his present. Collaborations with Stevie Ray Vaughan, Eric Clapton, and Carlos Santana showcase a musician still at the top of his game. At 45, Jimi Hendrix isn't just a legend, he's an elder statesman of modern music. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inducts him the year before it officially opens. At the ceremony, he thanks the audience with just one line. "The sky's still open, man. I'm still reaching for it." By 1990, Jimi Hendrix has seen it all, the highs, the struggles, and the rebirth. Now 48, he's healthy, centered, and creatively free. He's one of the first classic rock artists to embrace the digital age, experimenting with sampling and collaborating with hip-hop pioneers. Artists like Public Enemy and A Tribe Called Quest sample his riffs, and instead of fighting it, Hendrix embraces it. He even appears in a studio session with Dr. Dre playing live guitar over early beats that would shape the sound of the 90s. When asked in an interview how he feels about his music being remixed by a new generation, he laughs. "Man, that's what I was trying to do all along. Mix worlds that weren't supposed to meet." He continues touring through the early 1990s, performing with younger artists and raising money for music education. Electric Lady Studios thrives under his guidance, becoming a creative hub for generations of musicians. And perhaps most importantly, Hendrix lives to see his influence fully recognized. He watches a new era of musicians pick up guitars because of him. He hears his name in rap lyrics, sees his face on murals, and feels the love of fans who weren't even born when he first changed the world. At one concert in 1991, standing under a purple spotlight, Jimi tells the crowd, "They said the flame would burn out, but it didn't. It just found new colors." Of course, this is all imagination, a dream built from the pieces of reality he left behind. But it's a dream worth exploring. Because the truth is, Hendrix already had plans to record with Miles Davis, to work with Gil Evans, to start his own record label, to explore jazz, funk, and classical fusion. He was already evolving. In this alternate world, Jimi Hendrix doesn't just survive, he transforms. He grows older but never softer. He experiments, fails, learns, and rises again. And through it all, his guitar keeps speaking the universal language he gave to the world. If there's something to be changed in this world, Hendrix once said, then it can only happen through music. In this timeline, it did, and the music never stopped. If you enjoyed this story, hit like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments. Which collaboration would you have loved to see Hendrix with Prince, with Miles Davis, or someone else? Because imagining what could have been helps us appreciate what was, and remember that some sounds never die. Thanks for watching. Keep your mind open and your soul tuned to the music.